Amid the crisp autumn air, the faint morning rays filtered through the ginkgo canopy, bathing the limestone path leading into Stanford University's grounds in a gilded glow. The walkway of pale stone gradually led to the SGM lecture hall, where 4 months earlier Lucian Blackwood, a thoughtful young man hailing from a poor hamlet in Oregon, had received his official invitation to join the applied mathematics faculty. This appointment was not only the fulfillment of a dream but also a testament to his relentless effort over the past 10 years, from late evenings spent poring over books by the dim light of a desk lamp in a storage shed, to painstaking research that had earned the admiration of the academic community. Today, on the first day of the new term, Lucian awoke before 4 o'clock. He surveyed his small yet cozy faculty dorm room, listening to the wind whisper through the wooden window slats, carrying with it the scent of dry grass and orchard citrus. He felt no excitement or thrill. Instead, a profound stillness filled him, and his eyes reflected a pensive melancholy. Though he had left his humble hometown and laboring family behind, and though he had graduated at the top of his class from a prestigious university and become the youngest lecturer in the department's history, his heart still yearned for a clearer affirmation of self. Was his value truly confined to papers and accolades? Or had he lost touch with the most intimate parts of himself amid those dry numbers and formulas? By early morning, the plaza before the lecture hall teemed with students gathering in clusters, chatting and laughing. Footsteps clacked against the stone, mingling with the rustle of paper coffee cups and the strains of street music drifting from a speaker. Elena Kensington, her golden hair shimmering and her smile radiant, was covertly filming a clip to send to friends. Born into a prominent Palo Alto family of grand estates, luxury cars, and weekly banquets, Elena's life had been painted in vivid hues. Yet it was precisely the tedium and emptiness that spurred her to seek the challenge of winning over a cold professor. When Elena paused at the entrance to SGM Hall, she held her breath. Her gaze fell upon a solitary figure reading a sheet of data beneath the portico, wind stirring 2 strands of his sleek black hair. Lucian lowered his head, absorbed in the numbers, his brows gently knit as though solving a theorem in his mind. The slanted sunlight highlighted the sharp lines of his face, a straight nose, a square jaw, sun-kissed yet smooth skin, and deep blue eyes reminiscent of an unfathomable ocean. Elena felt her heart flutter and sink at once, drawn by the blend of masculine allure and aloof reserve. Curiosity spiked within her, tinged with a sweet challenge. Could he be as easily won over as any ordinary man? She stepped forward and offered a tentative smile. Lucian glanced up, his eyes meeting hers for a fleeting moment before he swiftly turned away, his broad shoulders retreating. Elena froze briefly, then felt a surge of determination. He's the perfect rival, she thought. In that instant, the bustle of the quad faded away, leaving only her resolute steps on the stones and the pounding of her heart. That afternoon, Lucian entered the lecture hall where 24 senior students awaited. Tapping the chalk against the blackboard, he pointed to each number and each line of formula with quiet precision. His voice was steady, imbued with the weight of knowledge. The dancing figures behind his lecture brought a spark of passion to Elena's eyes as she sat in the back row, notebook in hand, meticulously copying every symbol. Lucian directed his full attention to the board, his gaze sweeping over tense faces, yet he seemed oblivious to Elena, the emblem of his personal challenge, silently studying him. After class, Elena hurried to his lectern. "Professor, may I borrow today's lecture slides?" she ventured softly. Lucian set his book down and met her gaze. "The materials have been uploaded to the system. Please download them yourself," he replied, his tone cool and definitive. Elena bit her lip but refused to relent. "Thank you, Professor." Turning away, she immediately plotted dozens of new approaches, sending emails, sending flowers, inviting him for tea. Yet each time she reached out, Lucian evaded her, slipping away down another corridor. That evening, the dormitory hallway lights cast a warm glow through the window slats. Lucian sat at his desk, the soft yellow lamp illuminating his focused expression. He opened his email to see a brief message. "Professor Blackwood, I downloaded the slides but still have questions. Could you explain further?" From Elena Kensington at Stanford.edu. He paused, his heart skipping a beat. Lucian typed back, "If you still don't understand, come to my office next Wednesday during office hours." His words were still cool but less clipped. When Elena read the reply, her eyes gleamed. "Finally, an opportunity," she murmured, hope blossoming within her. Through the office window's glass, Lucian exhaled softly. Memories of his youth flooded back, his father's early death, his mother's gaunt frame toiling day and night in parched fields to send him to school. He recalled sleeping under a thatched roof, the sound of hose stirring the earth outside. Those hardships had forged his steely resolve and proud solitude. He reminded himself, student crushes are natural, but a teacher must not be swayed by emotions. That thought only hardened his reserve and deepened the weight on his shoulders. Stanford's night fell silent. The wind drifted through the trees, carrying a biting chill. Lucian closed his office door and stepped into the hallway, the yellow lights casting his solitary silhouette. At the end of the corridor, he glimpsed Elena standing before a large painting on the wall. Their eyes met awkwardly. Elena quickly bowed her head. "Sorry, Professor." Lucian remained still and offered, "It's fine." His voice was gentler than before, making Elena's heart race. She tilted her head and, with a thoughtful look in her eyes, asked, "May I?" The morning light slipped gently through the glass window of the computer lab, illuminating the sleek lines of the research building. Around a row of white round tables, Elena Kensington and her two best friends, Sophia Beaumont and Isabella Chin, were gathered, iced teas in hand and triumphant smiles on their faces. The wager ignited at last night's tea party. Could Elena win over Lucian Blackwood within 1 year? Now the challenge clock ticked away each passing day, and dozens of flirting tactics were being animatedly debated in the breezy room. Sophia narrowed her eyes and laughed. "You know, Lucian is like an iceberg in a sea of blank pages. Plenty have tried, but he shuts them down immediately. I doubt you can make him feel anything." Isabella glanced at Elena, her gaze serious yet amused. "Let's start today. I'll be the judge. If Lucian speaks more than 3 sentences to you, you win." Elena smiled confidently and stretched. "Let's see if he can conquer himself first." She inhaled deeply, her heart suddenly racing. The image of Lucian, stern, broad-shouldered, his sleek black hair kissed by the morning breeze, floated through her mind. Sophia and Isabella cheered her on. "Send a flirty text, bring him flowers, invite him to the art exhibit, every plan sounds perfect." Elena tilted her head thoughtfully, her eyes bright with determination. In her mind raced a series of subtle strategies: gifting him a frothy cappuccino by chance this afternoon, sending a sweetly worded email to ask for help with lecture material, or even organizing a small workshop and asking him to be the guest mentor. Each idea flickered like a promise of hope and a delicious dare. That afternoon, Elena went to the campus cafe tucked in the corner of the quad. The large windows rattled softly as the breeze stirred the potted greenery. She ordered a cappuccino with a delicate heart drawn in foam and placed it on a small table by the window. Her heart pounded. This was her first gift for Lucian. No sooner had she set the cup down than Lucian appeared, tall and poised in a charcoal gray suit, crisp white shirt, and dark blue tie. He leaned over the table, lips curved in a faint, unreadable smile, his sharp eyes fixed on the coffee cup. Elena rose, hesitating. "Professor Blackwood, I thought." Lucian looked up, his gaze calm and emotionless. "You've chosen the wrong seat. This area is reserved for faculty, not students." His voice was low and clipped, but not harsh. Elena froze, her heart skipping a beat. She stifled her impulse, managing a small smile. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize." She reached for a napkin to gather the cup. "Please don't worry about it." Lucian nodded and turned away, leaving behind the sweet aroma of cappuccino and the sting of disappointment mixed with fierce resolve. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She lay sprawled on her bed as the desk lamp cast a pale glow over her stack of books. Staring at the ceiling, she murmured to herself, He makes me both frustrated and intrigued. What can I do so he can't ignore me? Her mind buzzed with visions, an email with slides attached and a heartfelt thank you, or a signed copy of a math text inscribed for Professor Blackwood. But she knew Lucian wasn't easily swayed by flashy gestures. He needed something truly meaningful. The next morning, Elena decided to step back in order to leap forward. She headed to the library and found a rare volume on graph theory, the very work Lucian had cited in his renowned paper. She penned a brief handwritten note, "Professor Blackwood, I'm deeply impressed by your research. I would be grateful for a few minutes of your time to understand more about the application of graph theory in your model." She slipped the dark blue leather-bound book and letter onto his desk in the department office, then melted away like a phantom. At midday, Lucian returned to his office with a cup of water, glancing at his email. He noticed the elegant envelope beside his computer and frowned, an unusual reaction. Opening it, he saw Elena Kensington on the cover. He read her neat handwriting, a strange warmth stirring in his chest. He set the cup down and looked up at the ceiling, hiding his emotion. This was more than a game or a pickup ploy, it was genuine respect for his work. He quietly folded the letter, placed the book on the shelf, and thought to himself, there must be something special about this girl. That afternoon, in the department hallway, Elena spotted Lucian standing pensively by a window. She approached, her breath quickening. Lucian looked up, his deep blue eyes meeting hers. For the first time, he greeted her, "Good afternoon, Elena." His voice wavered slightly but was firmer than ever before. Elena returned his smile, her heart softening, "Good afternoon, Professor." In that unexpected moment, a breeze fluttered Lucian's coat. Elena caught a rare flicker of genuine interest in his eyes. She stood still, feeling her heartbeat align with his calm exhale. Bathed in the warm glow of the late afternoon, their first sweet challenge unveiled tiny signs of promise and solidified their shared resolve. A long road lay ahead, but Elena knew that with each determined step, even the coldest heart could thaw. Before the dawn had fully awakened, slender rays of sunlight filtered through the row of ginkgo trees lining the path, casting patches of light and shadow on the pale gray stone pavement of Stanford's campus. In the cool morning air, steam rose from steaming cups of coffee, forming a thin mist that carried the rich aroma of freshly roasted Arabica beans. The rustle of leaves against the glass panes and the hurried footsteps of students heading to class blended into a delicate symphony, heralding the start of a vibrant, hope-filled day. Elena Kensington walked along the stone path, her small handbag gently tapping against her thigh as she reminded herself inwardly, "Today I will take the next step in my plan." Her heart beat faster at the thought of the cafe beside Sproul Hall that Lucian Blackwood visited each morning. While most students knew him only from the department bulletin board, to Elena, Lucian had become an alluring enigma, both distant and irresistible. Upon entering the cafe, she was greeted by a cozy interior of ash-gray upholstered sofas and pale oak tables. Small potted plants dotted every corner, separating the calm inside from the hustle outside and lending a sense of tranquility. Elena chose a corner table by the window, from which she could survey the entire cafe and the corridor leading to Lucian's office. She glanced around and exhaled softly to steel her resolve. Today, he won't be able to avoid me. The barista had already set before her a cappuccino crowned with a perfect milk foam heart and a delicate chocolate chip cookie on a white ceramic plate. Elena smiled at this small masterpiece, the first sweet encounter she had so carefully planned. She lifted the cup, inhaled deeply as the coffee's fragrance filled her senses, then took a gentle sip, savoring its soft bitterness as if it whispered, "Enjoy." Soon the cafe door swung open. Lucian Blackwood appeared like a solemn silhouette. He wore a black wool coat over his suit, the collar of his vest sitting crisp, and a fitted woolen beanie on his head. His stride was purposeful. His gaze swept across the room, paused at the entrance, then settled on the cappuccino at Elena's table. Lucian's breath caught for an instant, long enough for Elena's heart to flutter. She rose, clutching her porcelain cup, and approached him. Good morning, Professor Blackwood. I know you like your coffee hot, so? Lucian raised his head, his deep blue eyes fixed on her. His tone was measured. Thank you, but I can make my own. He nodded toward her cappuccino. This is yours. Elena nodded and replied, Yes, Professor. I just wanted to. She trailed off under his reserved stare. He lifted the cup, took a small sip, then set it back down and offered a note of surprise. Not bad. His voice was gentler than usual, though still distant. Elena's heart swelled with a sweet thrill, and she ventured, I hope you find my coffee more to your liking. Lucian studied her for a long moment, then nodded, Certainly. He turned to leave but paused as if compelled to add, This Thursday, after work, if you'd like to discuss the optimization problem further, you may stop by my office. Elena could hardly believe her ears. Her heart soared, her eyes shining. Yes, Professor. I will be there. She dipped her head, a joyous smile curving her lips. Lucian gave a slight nod and walked away, leaving a lingering glance and the echo of his footsteps behind. As his figure receded, Elena stood still, savoring every precious second. She thought, at last, the first breakthrough. But she quickly reminded herself that the journey was far from over. She returned to her table, placed a small note confirming their appointment and a word of thanks on the tabletop, then quietly slipped out, leaving the space to other patrons. That afternoon, a cool breeze drifted through the window of Lucian's research office. He sat at his desk, his tablet displaying the day's lecture slides. Beside it, his morning coffee had grown cold, yet a subtle pleasure still glimmered in his eyes. He reflected on Elena's gesture, an enthusiastic, persistent, confident student who never flaunted her efforts. Lucian wondered if there was more to her than her passionate exterior. In the evening hush of the library, Elena reopened her journal. She recorded every detail of her morning coffee meeting and the thrill she experienced when Lucian nodded his promise. Her pen flew across the page, painting a portrait of her complex emotions, joy laced with anxiety, confidence tinged with fear of failure. She glanced out the glass window at the streetlights now aglow, casting her solitary reflection. A new spark of conviction ignited in her heart. As long as he agrees to meet me, I will hold the key to unlocking his heart. On a silent campus night, only the dim lamps and a distant owl's call broke the stillness. Elena closed her journal, lit her desk lamp, her eyes shining with determination. Tomorrow, I will prepare challenging questions to demonstrate my seriousness and passion. She closed her eyes and imagined Lucian truly smiling at her, his hand gently resting on her shoulder. In that fleeting dream, Elena drifted into a blissful reverie, ready for the next challenge. The early morning of an autumn day on Stanford's campus carried the characteristic chill of Northern California. Weak sunlight filtered through the tall maple canopy, painting shimmering streaks across the pale gray stone path from the SGM lecture halls to the library. In Elena Kensington's small dorm room, the soft clatter of her alarm clock rang out precisely at 6. She opened her eyes and first saw a small, deep blue card bearing the words Lucian Blackwood, placed neatly on her bedside table beside a framed photo of her closest friends. A flutter of excitement and nervous anticipation stirred in her chest. Today was the professor's birthday, the perfect opportunity to deftly present her first personal gift, a crucial step in her quest to win the heart of a man both solitary and withdrawn. Her hand slipped quietly under the bedside table and withdrew a small square box wrapped in frosted paper, tied atop with a soft satin white bow. Inside lay a dark brown leather notebook, its cover laser engraved with Lucian Blackwood in exquisite lettering. Elena had spent countless sleepless nights selecting the softest leather and acid-free pages, then painstakingly engraving each character. She reminded herself, this is more than a notebook. It shows my respect for his work and his passion. She placed the notebook inside the card, beneath a neatly penned message. Happy birthday, Professor. May every page record your new discoveries. After a quick breakfast of a sandwich and a glass of almond milk, Elena hurried along the stone path toward the department building. The sky arched endlessly overhead, and a cold breeze brushed her cheeks, making her shiver. She clutched the little box to her chest like a precious treasure. In her mind, as she saw Lucian at the library window just yesterday, the curious look in his eyes as he read her letter, his lean frame still exuding quiet strength and broad shoulders. She wondered how he would react to her gift, surprise, embarrassment, or even refusal. Yet above all else, she knew that expressing her gratitude and genuine care mattered more than any outcome. Standing before Lucian's office door, Elena inhaled deeply. The hallway lay silent, broken only by the soft echo of her hesitant footsteps on the blue silk carpet. The carved walnut door, bearing the Stanford University crest, cracked open. She knocked lightly 3 times and spoke in a gentle voice, "Professor Blackwood, may I have a moment?" Her heart tightened at the sound of her own request. Inside, Lucian sat at his desk, sunlight slanting across his stern features. He nodded once in acknowledgement and said in a low tone, "Come in." Elena's hand trembled as she carried the box into the room. Lucian looked up, his deep blue eyes flickering with curiosity. She forced a calm smile and said softly, "Happy birthday, Professor. I have a small gift for you." Gently she set the box on his desk and took a step back. Lucian regarded it in surprise, his long, immaculate fingers undoing the satin bow. He raised an eyebrow as he lifted the lid, the faint click echoing in the hush. When the leather notebook came into view, his gaze paused as if struck by something beyond mere numbers and formulas. He lifted the notebook, leafed through a few pages, and the engraved name on the cover caught the light. Silence stretched, broken only by the pounding of Elena's heart in her ears. She stood about a meter away, watching the subtle shift in his expression. His dark brows drew together, his lids descended slightly, and the stern mask of his features softened in an instant. He seemed to hesitate, then finally spoke in a voice warmer than she'd ever heard, "I didn't know you paid such close attention to my interests." There was genuine surprise in his tone. Elena swallowed and whispered, "I know you don't settle for simple gestures. I hoped this would show my respect." Lucian laid the notebook on the desk and regarded her with thoughtful eyes no longer so distant but filled with compassion. "Thank you. This means a great deal." He exhaled softly, his gaze meeting hers for a brief moment. Elena felt a wave of warmth from his eyes, and a gentle smile curved her lips. "I hope you have a wonderful day." She bowed her head, fingers tightening around the satin ribbon, then turned to leave. As she opened the door, Lucian called softly, "Elena?" She paused and turned back. He held up the notebook and stepped into the threshold. "If you have time, would you help me number the pages and mark the important sections? I'd like to start using it today." His eyes were hopeful. Elena's heart leapt. "Of course, Professor. When would you like me to come?" He nodded, speaking gently, "Please stop by my office at 3 this afternoon. I'll have the materials ready." Elena beamed, her eyes shining. "I'll be there on time." She closed the door behind her, her heart brimming with hope. In the quiet hallway, her silhouette stretched across the patterned tile, a reminder that though the road ahead was still long, each determined step drew her closer to that icy heart. That afternoon, under the warm glow of the office lamp, Elena worked diligently at the antique wooden desk. Sheets of numbered tabs lay beside the notebook, her gaze was intent as she recorded chapter titles and key sections. Across from her, Lucian sat with a high-end fountain pen in hand, occasionally glancing at her notes. The room was hushed, scented faintly with ink and fresh paper. From time to time he looked up, concern in his eyes. "Is labeling this section clear enough?" Elena nodded. "I think it will make information easier to find." Lucian offered a small, half-smile. For the first time, his expression softened into something tender, a warmth that made Elena's heart swell. When the clock chimed 6, their work was done. Lucian donned his vest and set aside his pen. "Thank you for your help. You were very thorough." Elena inhaled deeply, savoring the lingering scent of quality paper on her hands. "I'm glad I could assist." The brief but heartfelt interaction convinced her that her gift had opened a small crack in Lucian's cold exterior. She rose and caught the appreciative glint in his eyes and that gentle smile. Inside, she cheered herself on, "I've drawn a little closer." And so a new chapter of their sweet journey unfolded, filled with fresh hopes, desires, and the subtle stirrings of emotion. Morning light filtered through the curtains of the second-floor group study room in the library, illuminating towering shelves filled with specialized texts, from probability theory to linear algebra. The quiet was punctuated only by the rustle of pages and the scratch of pens as students reviewed their notes, creating a rhythm both urgent and focused. Elena Kensington stepped in, clutching a slim folder of documents, her heart racing with excitement and nerves. She planned to ask Lucian to clarify the multi-objective optimization lecture, the section she found most perplexing. Elena chose a corner table beside the large window, where gentle sunlight formed warm golden patches on the surface. She set her folder down and opened it to the pages of reports and formulas she had annotated. Every number and symbol drew her full attention. After a few moments of self-study, she lifted her head and scanned the room for Lucian. When she saw him enter through the library door, her pulse quickened. He wore a pale blue shirt and black trousers. His posture was straight, but his tired eyes betrayed the strain of continuous teaching. Elena rose quickly and hurried over. "Professor Blackwood, may I ask your help with something? I'm still confused about the Cauchy-Schwarz derivation you mentioned yesterday." Her voice trembled slightly, but her eyes shone with sincerity and determination. Lucian pressed his lips together, studying her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Sit down and state your question as briefly as possible." With a curt nod, he led her to the group study table, his tone still cool but his expression softer. The normally austere academic corridor suddenly felt warmer as Elena bent over her books and tablet. Lucian sat opposite her and slid the documents toward her, his hand brushing lightly across the printed formulas. He began to explain step by step. "In this expression, we apply the Cauchy-Schwarz inequality as follows." His voice was even, yet it revealed a growing passion for the material. Elena listened intently, taking meticulous notes. Her eyes glimmered with a thirst for understanding. Each time she posed a follow-up question, Lucian obligingly elaborated, his gaze meeting hers as if seeking a fellow traveler on this mathematical journey. The air between them grew increasingly intimate and hushed, broken only by distant footsteps and Lucian's thoughtful explanations. After nearly an hour, the morning light faded and was replaced by the cold white glow of fluorescent lamps. Lucian set down his pen and closed the documents. "All right, that covers it. Do you understand now?" Elena looked up, her eyes bright with clarity. "Yes, I understand so much better. Thank you very much, Professor." Her gratitude was heartfelt, but she lingered, wanting just a bit more interaction. Lucian seemed to sense this. He met her gaze with a gentler expression. "If you have further questions, email me and I'll take a look." Even so simple a gesture moved Elena deeply. She nodded softly. "I will, thank you." As Elena gathered her books, Lucian suddenly asked, "Are you interested in this graduate research topic?" Startled, she answered quickly, "Yes, I'd really like to dive deeper into multi-objective optimization. I think it would be invaluable for my academic project." Lucian fell silent for a moment, his eyes reflecting thoughtful consideration. He nodded, then said, "You may come to my lab this Friday. I'll invite you to our research group meeting." Elena felt as if the sky had opened before her. "I'd be delighted. Thank you, Professor." After class, Elena stepped onto the library's front porch, her hands still trembling with excitement. She paused on the steps and inhaled the crisp air. A cool breeze swept by, mingling with the scent of books and igniting her hope. She whispered to herself, "He's recognized my efforts. If I maintain this spirit of learning, I'll draw ever closer to his heart." In that moment, Elena understood that study was not merely a means of approach but the very bond uniting two passionate souls. That evening in her dorm room, Elena opened her laptop and checked her email with care. A new message, lucian.blackwood@stanford.edu, read, "Please come to the lab at 3 p.m. on Friday. Be prepared to demo the algorithm." Elena read and reread it, then burst into a triumphant smile. She screenshot the email and posted it to her group chat with Sophia and Isabella. "I did it. He's letting me into the lab." Emojis poured in at once. Sophia leapt with joy. "Amazing." Isabella cheered. "Make sure your presentation wows him." Late at night, the laptop's pale glow lit Elena's determined face. She thought, "I'll prepare thoroughly. Not just to prove my ability, but to show him my seriousness and passion." She drafted a detailed to-do list, reading papers, creating slides, rehearsing demos, each task neatly organized. Only when the clock neared midnight did Elena finally close her eyes. In her dream, Lucian stood in the lab, smiling encouragingly as his voice echoed, "Well done, Elena." She smiled back in her sleep, confident that tomorrow their story would ascend to a new, sweet, and aspirational level. The International Cultural Festival on Stanford's campus brimmed with color and lively sound. A towering white-painted wooden archway, draped with the flags of over 40 nations, greeted visitors. Food stalls offered everything from buttery French croissants to traditional Vietnamese pho, Mexican tamales, and Japanese sushi. Two large stages echoed with music. On one, an Indian folk band plucked melancholy sitar melodies. On the other, a Middle Eastern hip-hop crew thumped out energetic rhythms. Thousands of students and guests bustled through the grounds, laughter and chatter mingling with the spicy aroma of grilled dishes in the crisp California autumn air. Elena Kensington wore a jade green maxi dress patterned with gentle florals, giving her a free-spirited yet elegant air. She carried a canvas tote printed with a world map and strolled confidently through the crowd. She made her way to the art department's booth, where paintings and ceramics were displayed. In her mind she rehearsed how to accidentally run into Lucian. Would he even attend the festival? In past years, he'd quietly taught and researched, rarely joining any extracurricular events. Just then, Elena heard soft footsteps behind her. Turning, she saw Lucian appear, his blazer draped over one shoulder, his white shirt crisp. He stood before a Swiss landscape painting, quietly taking in its colors with his deep-eyed gaze. In that moment, despite the throng around her, Elena's heart fluttered. She walked slowly toward him, every deliberate step drawing her closer. When she reached him, Lucian was still absorbed in the painting. Elena spoke softly, "It's beautiful, isn't it, Professor?" Lucian looked up, his eyes landing on her face. He gave a slight nod. "The composition is excellent, and the colors blend harmoniously." His tone was cool but not distant. Elena's heart skipped as she smiled. "I think this piece shows the symmetry between nature and humanity." Lucian's brow furrowed in curiosity. "You've studied art?" She hesitated. "Although I'm in the math department, I enjoy learning about art as a pastime." Lucian was silent for a beat, then looked down at the floor before meeting her gaze again. "It's good to have interdisciplinary passions." Their brief exchange gave Elena hope. She continued, "I love art because it balances the dryness of solving equations. After each brushstroke, I feel as if I've unlocked a mystery." Lucian inhaled slowly, a spark of interest lighting his eyes. "That's quite an insightful way to describe it." His voice had lost its earlier chill, replaced by a tone of genuine conversation. All around them the festival buzzed, but Elena only heard her own heartbeat. She ventured, "Would you like to try coloring? I brought some paper and colored pencils." Lucian looked surprised, then nodded slowly. "All right, fetch them." Elena turned and selected a few sheets and pencils, then set them on a small table before the painting. Lucian sat down, picked up a pencil, and began making his first strokes. Elena sat beside him, watching his focused expression. After a few minutes, Lucian paused and looked at Elena. "This is fun. I haven't drawn much, but it's relaxing." Elena smiled, her eyes shining. "You're very talented." Lucian examined his rough sketch with a hint of bashfulness, then nodded. "Thank you. In that moment she realized he was letting slip a softness beneath his usual reserve. But the joy was short-lived when Elena's phone buzzed. She glanced down to see a message from Sophia. "Don't forget about go-kart racing tonight." She turned back to Lucian. "I'm sorry, Professor, I have to go meet my team." Lucian gave a brief nod. "Don't be late." She smiled and bowed. "I'll be back." Hurrying off, she left with her heart both elated by the small victory and weighed by the other commitment calling her away. That evening, Elena arrived at the sports club's go-kart track. The roar of engines and rush of cool night air greeted her. Sophia and Isabella waited in Stanford t-shirts and gleaming helmets. Elena strapped on her own helmet and gripped the wheel, her mind still racing with images of that afternoon. As she hopped into her cart, a flicker of anxiety crossed her mind. Would Lucian remember her? Had their conversation meant more than a fleeting encounter at the festival? After 2 heats, Elena crossed the finish line in second place. Sophia and Isabella cheered wildly. She smiled, but inside she pondered. Her conquest would only feel complete when Lucian looked at her with recognition, not mere curiosity. She resolved to focus more on the substance of their interactions, not just the outward approach tactics. Late that night back in her dorm, Elena pulled out her phone and texted Lucian. "Thank you for today, Professor. Our conversation was wonderful. Have a pleasant evening." Her heart pounded as she hit send. At around 11 p.m., Lucian replied simply, "Good night, Elena." Those 2 words carried a warmth that made her pulse quicken. As Stanford's campus settled into silence, the sweet afterglow of the unexpected festival encounter lulled Elena into a hopeful, peaceful sleep. A late autumn morning ushered in the first chill winds as maple leaves flamed crimson along the stone-paved paths around Stanford's campus. The weak October sunlight filtered through the foliage, casting glittering streaks across the white stone table on the library's porch. Elena Kensington sat alone on a long wooden bench, her laptop open before her, eyes fixed intently on the lines of code and data on the screen. Only 1 month remained before her challenge to win over Lucian Blackwood would conclude. Time slipped by like a drifting cloud, leaving her both exhilarated and anxious. Her mind swirled with memories: the first coffee by Sproul Hall, the leather-bound notebook engraved with his name, those dense Friday night lab sessions, and the shared painting moment at the campus festival. Each recollection marked a milestone on her long journey to thaw that frozen heart. She sighed, tapping her fingers lightly on the keyboard. Just a few more steps. She reminded herself, determination surging within her. 1 week earlier, Elena had sent Lucian an invitation to speak at an internal seminar of the Applied Mathematics Club titled Optimal Solutions in Smart Cities. She hoped to create an academic setting for deeper exchange and thereby draw him into conversation. Although she had attached a beautifully designed poster, no confirmation had arrived. All she saw were his usual slide update notifications, no reply to her invitation. That afternoon, she waited by the department office door as Lucian emerged. He slowly opened a window, inhaled deeply, and lifted a teacup to his lips. Elena hurried forward. "Professor Blackwood, I sent you an invitation to the seminar." Lucian glanced up, probing. "I received it, but my schedule is tight. Could you brief me on the content?" Elena led him into the waiting room, displayed the poster on a table, and delivered a fluent overview: the seminar structure, guest speakers, and goals for fostering faculty-student interaction. Lucian listened with serious interest, then asked, "What's your communication plan?" She outlined reminder emails, social media promotion, printed posters, even a live stream. He nodded. "It's well structured. I'll make time to attend, but send me the final details at least 3 days beforehand." His agreement was a major win. His presence would draw students and open the door to direct interaction beyond the classroom. After their meeting, Elena returned to her lab desk, eyes alight with excitement, and jotted down a color-coded checklist: send reminder emails, contact the communications office, test audio equipment, arrange speaker seating. She thought, if this seminar succeeds, I'll earn top marks in his eyes. Yet she worried that, as the kickoff for year-end events, any misstep could tarnish her reputation and her standing with Lucian. That evening, Elena, Sophia, and Isabella gathered in her dorm for a brainstorming session. 3 laptops glowed in the soft lamplight. Sophia proposed inviting Lucian as a special guest for an open Q&A. Isabella suggested a public chat group to collect student questions in advance. The friends eagerly debated ideas and sparred over media tactics. Elena coordinated, weighing each suggestion. Once they agreed, she emailed Lucian the updated agenda and asked him to confirm his role. Only when the clock struck midnight and their laptop screens dimmed did the 3 girls finally end their meeting. Despite their hard work, Elena slept poorly. Before closing her eyes, she checked her email again, heart fluttering at the thought of a reply. The clock ticked on as she gazed at the large hardcover photo on her desk, a rare shot of her and Lucian in the lab, his fleeting smile captured forever. She whispered, "Let this seminar be the turning point," and drifted into dreams of the event day. On Friday afternoon, Hall A101 was packed, students sat shoulder to shoulder, many live streaming. Elena stood just below the stage, her gaze tense as Lucian approached the podium. He wore a black suit and dark green tie, his expression solemn, notes in hand. Elena felt her heart pound as he surveyed the audience and then glanced toward the front row where she stood. She smiled and drew a steadying breath. The seminar began. Lucian spoke with professional poise, his voice warmer and more engaging than in the lecture hall. Slides of graphs and smart city models came alive under the projector's beam. Then he invited Elena on stage. "Ms. Kensington, could you share some key survey findings?" The room fell silent as she stepped into the spotlight. Based on a survey of 200 West Campus residents, 85% requested automated bus schedule notifications and 60% wanted a real-time air quality monitoring app. She presented smoothly, her eyes shining with pride. The audience erupted in applause. Lucian smiled, regarding Elena with genuine admiration. "Thank you for those valuable insights, Ms. Kensington. This data will directly inform our next research phase." A wave of triumph swept the hall. Students turned to Elena, but her focus was solely on Lucian. He gave her a slight nod, his eyes conveying, "You did wonderfully." In that moment, her heart warmed. The seminar was not only a professional triumph but also the greatest milestone in her journey to win her professor's affection. When the seminar ended, applause and excited chatter filled the hall. Elena descended the stage and approached Lucian, her face still aglow. "Professor, the seminar was a huge success." He placed a hand on her shoulder, his gaze sincere. "You exceeded all expectations. Thank you for your support." His genuine smile sent Elena into blissful rapture. With the 1-month deadline nearly passed, Elena knew she had cleared the toughest stretch. Next would come more intimate moments, project dinners, heartfelt conversations, and, ultimately, a sincere confession. Having overcome countless challenges, she now stood beneath the fiery maples confident that, with a steadfast heart, any distance could be bridged. An early winter breeze swept through the oak groves, scattering dry golden leaves along the misty stone paths of Stanford's campus. Elena Kensington hurried through the fog, her cream-colored wool coat draped over her slender shoulders, her mind heavy with thought. A month had passed since the successful seminar, yet Lucian Blackwood's frozen heart remained unthawed. She realized she needed a bold new move, an unexpected reversal to capture his attention. Elena recalled the distant look in Lucian's eyes when he heard she was dating Ryan Caldwell, a second-year math student with a handsome face, warm smile, and towering height. Ryan was known for his friendliness, always helping friends, and for playing on the school's basketball team. Inspiration struck Elena like lightning. She would pretend to be dating Ryan, spreading rumors on social media and among friends, so that Lucian would feel both uneasy and jealous. The next morning, Elena invited Ryan for coffee at the cafe on Delson Walk. The Scandinavian-style shop featured light wooden tables, slender metal chairs, and warm yellow lighting. Ryan was already waiting by the door, wearing a gray sweater and light blue jeans. His tall frame exuded effortless charm. When he saw Elena, he beamed. "Hey, Elena. You called me?" Elena returned his smile sweetly. I need your help today. We have a live stream set up for the seminar, but the camera's acting up. I need someone to hold the angle from outside." Ryan nodded eagerly. "No problem, I've got your back. Sit tight, I'll check the equipment." Elena delicately draped her hand over his shoulder. "Thanks so much, Ryan. I'm lucky to have you." He grinned back. "Anytime, especially for you." Over the next hours, Elena texted and called Ryan constantly under the pretext of checking camera angles, arranging meetups at the lab, the auditorium, even a nearby tea shop. Each encounter found her smiling brighter than ever, her eyes wide and carefree. A few students happened to spot them standing close together and quickly spread the rumor in their group chat, which soon leapt onto the university's online bulletin board. The buzz that Elena is dating Ryan Caldwell sent campus gossip into overdrive. On Instagram, Elena felt compelled to post a photo of her and Ryan, captioned, "Thanks Ryan for the tech backup today. #Team Seminar." The small hashtag was enough for Lucian to notice. She sneak screenshot it and messaged Sophia, "Operation B is underway. Tell Isabella to spread it further." Meanwhile, in their group chat, Sophia and Isabella piled on evidence, photos of them side by side, flirty texts, even a clip of Ryan lightly touching Elena's arm while helping with the camera. That evening, Lucian Blackwood, deep in lecture prep, received the flood of messages. He stared blankly at the screen showing Elena and Ryan cozied up in the cafe, candlelight hinting at a warm atmosphere. A strange surge of emotion washed over him, disappointment, hurt, and curiosity. Why was Elena, who had so earnestly pursued him, now devoting attention to someone else? He brushed aside his papers, the laptop screen went dark, and the lab lights felt emptier than ever. He couldn't shake the image of Elena happily with Ryan, like a dagger plunged into his cold heart. The next morning, Lucian appeared at the lab door earlier than usual. Elena was preparing slides for the next workshop, her mind still buzzing with plans. When she looked up, she froze at the sight of his stern figure. He asked, "Elena, what is Ryan Caldwell doing here?" Elena panicked but tried to stay composed. "Professor, Ryan is helping me test the projector for tonight's discussion." She spoke quickly. Lucian's brow furrowed, his gaze ice-cold. "Are you sure this is strictly work?" Elena drew a deep breath, voice trembling. "Yes, Professor. He's only assisting with the tech." She lowered her eyes as her heart raced. Silence stretched as Lucian studied her. In her mind she sensed a flicker of jealousy and misunderstanding, tears she fought to hold back. Finally he said, "I will check it myself later. From now on, if you need help, send me a schedule and I will approve it." With that, he turned and left, leaving Elena alone in the empty lab, her thoughts in turmoil. Plan B had indeed sparked Lucian's jealousy and suspicion, but it had also erected a new barrier between them. Stanford's campus seemed quieter than ever that morning. Elena stepped into the courtyard, clutching her laptop, lost in thought. Does Lucian truly care for me? Or was this just momentary jealousy, she wondered as she watched Ryan walk by, offering her a friendly wave before disappearing. She realized that while Plan B had effectively stirred Lucian's emotions, it also risked misunderstanding and distance. Two feelings surged within Elena, regret and resolve. She thought, "I must clear this up quickly, but also show him that I'm special above anyone else." She opened her phone and texted Ryan, "Thanks for your help yesterday, but I think I need to learn the tech myself. I'll handle it from here." With that sent, Elena inhaled deeply and sought out Lucian to explain that everything had been just work. That evening, Elena found Lucian in the research room. The warm lamplight fell on her tense face as she approached. she whispered. Professor Blackwood? Lucian looked up, distant yet still cold. What do you want? He asked. Elena exhaled and stammered, I'm sorry. I never meant to mislead you. Ryan was only helping with technical issues, I'm not dating him. Lucian regarded her, expecting. She continued, I thought Plan B would help, but I see now it was too risky. I apologize if I hurt you. After a brief pause, Lucian exhaled softly, his expression softening. I believe you. But from now on, I want you to be honest about your feelings. Elena lifted her gaze, tears welling, I promise. Under the warm glow of the research room lamp, two souls, 8 years apart, once divided by pride and ice, met in their first gesture of genuine honesty. In that moment, a new chapter opened in their complex relationship, no longer merely professor and student, but two hearts beginning to understand and close the distance between them. That Stanford morning held its usual hush before the winter sun had fully risen. A light fog hovered among the oak tree tops, casting a soft veil over the red-tiled roofs. Lucian Blackwood walked slowly along the department corridor, cradling a steaming cup of tea. His gaze was fixed straight ahead, but his face bore an unfamiliar pensiveness. After meeting Elena yesterday, he had tossed and turned late into the night, replaying her heartfelt apology and the tears that had welled at her eyes. He wondered whether she truly cared for him, or was merely trying to win him over with clever tactics. Meanwhile, Elena Kensington sat at a group study table in the library, her hand poised over the laptop keyboard. A notification glowed on her screen. This evening's research group meeting has been postponed. She sighed, her heart still fluttering from last night's conversation with Lucian. Despite his words of reassurance, worry gnawed at her. Is he still angry or upset? She hesitated before texting Sophia. I'm about to meet Professor Blackwood to confirm our project. I'm so nervous. Sophia replied at once, You'll be fine, go for it. But Elena knew she had to face him on her own. That afternoon, Elena waited outside the lab where they usually held professional meetings. The wooden door stood ajar, warm yellow light spilling into the dim corridor. She inhaled deeply and pushed the door open. At the long conference table, Lucian was arranging papers with care. He looked up, his eyes meeting hers for a moment, tinged with confusion. Elena stepped forward, offering a gentle smile. Professor, I'm here to confirm tonight's meeting. Lucian nodded gravely. It's been moved to tomorrow at 5 p.m. Can you reschedule the group? Elena looked down and calculated quickly. Yes, Professor. I'll notify everyone right away. She raised her head. Thank you. As she turned to leave, her gaze inadvertently caught the quiet weight on Lucian's face. There was something in his eyes, a sudden flicker of disappointment mixed with reproach, that made her heart flutter. She paused and, voice trembling, asked, Professor, are you all right? He met her gaze, his voice soft yet low, I'm fine. It's just. He hesitated, then shook his head. Never mind. Elena saw the tension in his features, as though he were struggling to contain his emotions. She stepped closer, soothingly, I'm so sorry for causing misunderstanding before. I never meant to embarrass you. Lucian fell silent, taking a sip of tea. The heat made him wince slightly. Finally he spoke, I understand what happened. But we must remain professional. You should avoid such obvious ploys. Elena felt a sting of tears. She forced a small, brave smile. I understand, Professor. I'll be more careful. She bowed and turned to go, but Lucian called her name, Elena. She paused, tears threatening. Yes, Professor, he asked. Lucian stepped nearer. Instead of tricks, would you tell me your true story, your feelings and your reasons? Elena froze, her heart racing. She drew in a steadying breath, her eyes bright with emotion. I truly care for you, Professor. I'm sorry I resorted to schemes. I was afraid you wouldn't notice me otherwise. Lucian regarded her in silence. Every word seemed to pierce his frozen heart, melting the ice that had long encased it. He lowered his head and sighed. "You're brave." Then he looked up, his eyes warmer than before. I need time to think. But thank you for your honesty." Elena felt a spark of hope, fragile but enough to guide her onward. As Elena left the lab, her heart swirled with sorrow and anticipation. She tilted her head to the overcast sky and wondered what tomorrow would bring. Resolutely, she told herself, even if I must wait, I will not give up. She walked the empty corridor, her silhouette cast against the stone walls, a reminder that every challenge conceals a budding opportunity. That night, Elena sat by her dorm window, gazing at the twinkling lights of Stanford. She exhaled and opened her journal. "Today, I spoke the truth. Though I was afraid, I feel relieved. I hope he gives me another chance." Her pen stilled as a cold breeze whispered through the window, as if encouraging her, "Keep moving forward, your heart will lead the way." Down the hall, Lucian Blackwood sat curled on the floor before his desk. His eyes lingered on the seminar photo of Elena standing confidently on stage. He sighed, tracing his fingers over the leather-bound notebook she had given him, a reminder of that pivotal day. Now, with her confession echoing in his mind, he knew he faced a choice: cling to the safety of professional distance, or step into the unpredictable realm of the heart, filled with both risk and hope. Early in the morning, the weak winter sunlight slipped through the gap in the curtains and fell across Lucian Blackwood's cluttered desk. He sat motionless in his leather chair, a cup of strong black coffee in hand, staring at his computer screen. Elena Kensington's email was still open in his inbox, brief but full of hope. "I'm sorry if I made you sad. I really hope you'll give me a chance to let you understand me better." Lucian closed his eyes and exhaled heavily. His heart skipped 4 beats, an almost unheard-of reaction for someone accustomed to living by reason and numbers. He booted up his computer, replayed the lecture hall camera, and watched every moment of Elena's seminar presentation, her radiant smile, her determined gaze. He saw that she was not only a brilliant student, but also possessed a burning desire to be truly seen. An idea formed in his mind: he had to investigate the sincerity behind her words. He printed out the letter she had written in the lab and placed it beside the leather-bound notebook she had given him. Sitting with his knees drawn up, he wondered whether he dared let personal feelings intrude into the serious academic world. At midday, Lucian hurried across the dew-wet stones of the quad. He glanced up at the library windows, imagining Elena bent over her notes inside. He decided to speak plainly. He would go to her dorm, explain his feelings and his hopes. In the student dormitory, Elena was just finishing tidying the group study room, her notes for tonight's discussion neatly arranged. She checked her watch, 2 p.m. Her phone buzzed with a message from Sophia. "Professor tried calling you this morning. Call him back right away." Elena grabbed her phone and saw a missed call from Lucian Blackwood. Her heart pounded. She didn't know whether to feel joy or fear. Hesitantly, she tapped to call him back. The ringtone echoed in her ear, and her voice trembled. "Hello, Professor?" Lucian's reply was cool. "Elena, I'm coming down to the quad. Can you meet me by Crescent Lake at 3:30? Startled, Elena's eyes brightened with hope. "Yes, Professor. I'll be there on time." She hung up and held her breath, counting the seconds. Crescent Lake lay still at the center of the campus, its surface like a mirror. Benches stretched beneath the solemn trees, and only occasional students passed by. Lucian stood at the wooden railing, his wrist trembling as he set down his coffee. When Elena appeared, light in her pale wool coat, hair loose, he felt his heart skip a beat. She approached and bowed politely. "Have you been waiting long, Professor?" Lucian shook his head. "No, I just arrived." His voice was low. His gaze searched hers, as though reading her soul. Elena drew a deep breath and said, voice shaking, "Sir, I know I was wrong to use tactics. Could you give me a chance to speak honestly?" Lucian studied her, his face a mixture of doubt and compassion. I want to know why you felt you had to rely on tricks instead of being straightforward from the start. Elena looked up, confusion mingling with pride. I was afraid I wasn't valuable enough as myself. I thought if I didn't use tactics, I'd never get your attention, only my grades and academic effort would be seen. Lucian stepped closer, his hand brushing the lapel of her coat. That fear is what makes you different. I never thought you lacked value. I see your confidence, determination, passion for mathematics and for life. That is what drew me to you. Elena was stunned, tears brimmed in her eyes. I didn't believe you could care for me like that. Lucian's clear blue eyes shone. Affection isn't an equation. It can't be measured by formulas. The air above Crescent Lake was silent except for falling leaves and their steady breaths. She looked up, eyes glistening. Professor, could you tell me how you feel about me? Lucian sighed and slipped his arm around her shoulders. I have noticed you for some time, during lectures, when I saw you studying alone in the library, over morning coffees, every contribution you made in seminars. I feared the teacher-student relationship would raise eyebrows, but I cannot deny my heart. Elena felt his heartbeat through his coat, hers raced in response. In that moment, the lake's still surface reflected them as a single pair. She raised her hand to his cheek. I'm so happy to hear that. Lucian's warm hand cradled her face. And I'm glad we finally spoke the truth. A distant bell tolled across campus, reminding them of the world beyond. But here, on the bank of Crescent Lake, two hearts had shed their fears and turned bravely toward each other. Lucian smiled softly. Do you believe you're worthy now? Elena met his gaze, shining. Yes, and I know our feelings will need time to grow. Lucian nodded. I want to walk that journey with you. She leaned against him, feeling his warmth, her heart full of trust. By afternoon, Stanford glowed in a golden light, red oak leaves dancing on the water's surface. Together they returned to the lecture hall and the dorm, carrying a new faith. Love isn't a problem to solve, but it can be nurtured with trust and sincerity. When the winter winds turned biting cold, and the rare afternoon sun filtered through the ginkgo trees, Lucian Blackwood and Elena Kensington walked hand in hand toward the bus stop. Lucian's heart swelled with sweetness at being beside her, and with worry about revealing their relationship. He gripped her hand firmly through his thick wool glove, as if sealing his resolve to press forward despite any obstacles. Elena looked at his hand in hers, her heart fluttering. Professor, you seem worried. Lucian paused, his brow furrowing slightly. I want you to be careful. Our relationship might draw judgment. Elena smiled with confidence. I understand, but I also want you to see that love isn't something to hide. She tilted her head, hope shining in her eyes. Lucian nodded and squeezed her hand. All right. Starting tonight, we'll share it more openly. Elena clasped his hand joyfully. That evening, the Academy's year-end Christmas party was set to begin. The SGM lecture hall was lavishly decorated, a nearly 3-meter tree, golden lights twinkling, long tables draped in pristine white cloth. The scent of gingerbread and hot cocoa filled the air, mingled with cheerful carols. Elena wore a burgundy gown, her hair loosely tied, her face radiant. Lucian was poised in a classic black suit. Standing before the banquet table, Elena gently brushed a lock of hair from Lucian's forehead. Does it feel strange that I asked you to come with me? Lucian hesitated, then offered a warm smile. Not at all. I'm very happy to be here with you. In that moment, their first counterattack unfolded. Instead of her pursuing him, he had taken the initiative to invite her. Elena's heart soared. During the party, the lights danced on glasses of deep red wine. Lucian led Elena into the crowd, introducing her to colleagues. This is Ms. Kensington. She collaborated with me in seminars and the lab. Applause rippled through the room. Elena blushed, pride shining in her eyes. It's lovely to meet you all. Professor has helped me so much." Their easy conversation and his praise helped dispel any lingering doubts. When the program's musical performance began, Elena was invited on stage. She sang Last Christmas with warmth and emotion under the spotlight. The audience listened in admiration. Lucian watched from the front row, a proud smile on his lips. In that moment, Elena felt his silent support, love without words. After the performance, they strolled into the garden behind the lecture hall, the winter chill brushing their coats. Lucian wrapped his arms around Elena from behind. "You sang beautifully." Elena turned, eyes shining. "You were wonderful, too." They laughed together under the starlit sky. Lucian leaned down to kiss her forehead and whispered, "This counterattack, I want us to share it together." Elena returned his kiss, her heart aflutter. "I'm so happy." The sweet moment ended the party, but their journey continued, fresh love and a firm commitment binding teacher and student together. After the sweet Christmas night, Stanford's campus lay wrapped in the characteristic chill of a California winter, but the hearts of Lucian Blackwood and Elena Kensington burned with fresh passion. Every morning they awoke with a mixture of joy and anticipation, for each moment together could mark a new turning point in their teacher-student relationship. Although they had cleared the first hurdle, they still had to be cautious in their behavior so as not to stir gossip in the strict academic environment. 1 week after the Christmas party, Lucian chose a free Thursday to invite Elena for a stroll through the garden behind the library. As they walked across the lawn draped in morning dew, thin clouds parted to let sunlight spill into the clearing, lighting everything around them. Hesitating, Lucian took Elena's hand for the first time and said, "Elena, I'd like to learn more about your life outside the classroom." Elena was surprised, but her smile blossomed quickly. "I'm very happy you asked." She told him of her childhood in a small coastal town in Oregon, where she used to go fishing with her parents and pick wild strawberries. Her voice grew warm, her eyes alight with sweet memories. Lucian listened attentively, his gaze shining with interest, and he sometimes smiled when she mentioned her childhood antics. When Elena spoke of the first time she saw the Eiffel Tower in a postcard, Lucian suddenly asked, "Would you like to go to Europe with me, to make that dream come true?" Elena froze, stunned by the unexpected question. I would love to." But before she finished, Lucian gave her a gentle smile. "Don't worry about schedules. I've asked the department for permission for a short research trip. We'll study smart city data in Paris and Berlin. I want us both to gain real-world experience." Her dream of traveling to Europe became reality in an instant, and Elena was overwhelmed with happiness. She threw her arms around Lucian. "Thank you so much." He smiled softly, stroking her hair. "I want to share not only knowledge with you but life beyond these walls." Their 1-week trip after spring break began in Paris. Lucian and Elena strolled beside the Seine, admiring the city's tranquil glow under golden lights. They visited the Louvre, where Elena gazed in awe at the Mona Lisa and shared her impressions of art with Lucian. The air was crisp, and Lucian draped his coat around Elena's shoulders, his look more tender than ever. On the third day, they flew to Berlin to examine the intelligent public transport system. On the modern subway, Lucian explained how sensors collected passenger data while Elena took rapid notes on her tablet. When she needed help, Lucian bent to adjust her tablet's angle, their eyes meeting in a spark of intimacy. That evening, at a small hotel by Lake Wannsee, Elena invited Lucian to dinner. The room was cozy, candles flickering in their wine glasses. As they savored German specialties, they spoke of their future plans, Elena's dream of becoming a leading researcher and Lucian's own academic ambitions. Sometimes they fell silent, content to listen to the lapping waves and the wind sighing through the glass windows. After dinner, Lucian led Elena out onto the balcony overlooking the still lake. He turned and embraced her from behind. "Elena, I know the teacher-student boundary is forbidden, but I don't want to miss a single moment with you." Elena pressed against his chest and whispered, "I feel the same, Professor." They kissed softly beneath a sky sprinkled with stars, their emotions exploding so that all fear melted away. Back at Stanford, they continued their relationship in quiet sweetness. Lucian took Elena on tours of the labs, introduced her to colleagues, proudly showing her off to the world. Elena texted her friends simply, "Love lives in the simple joys." One Tuesday afternoon, Lucian surprised her with a picnic date on campus beneath the cherry blossoms. A blanket was laid out, a basket of French bread, cheese, fresh fruit, all prepared with care. Elena was touched. "You went to so much trouble." He smiled. "I want you to see that love needn't be grand, only sincere." They ate, chatted, and shared their little dreams side by side. But not everything was smooth. Rumors of their teacher-student relationship began to spread among curious students. Lucian received a warning email from the department administration to maintain distance. He had to decide whether to go public or hide their bond. One evening, he took Elena straight to the dean's office to formally present their relationship and express his wish to continue teaching alongside personal happiness. Standing by his side, Elena's eyes shone with determination and pride. After the review, the dean looked at them sympathetically and said, "Instructors have a right to personal happiness so long as it does not affect other students or their duties. I'll allow you to decide how best to conduct yourselves." Lucian and Elena exhaled in relief, hands clasped tightly, their faith in a lasting future deepened. Their emotions had erupted amid Stanford's winter, overcoming every barrier to enter a phase of commitment and reality. They knew more challenges lay ahead, but with love this strong, they could conquer them together. After a brief summer break, Stanford buzzed again with the clatter of bicycles on cobblestone paths and students laughing beneath trees now tinged gold. Elena stepped through the main gate, her chest fluttering. This new chapter with Lucian awaited her, as did a mountain of teaching and research. Yet she knew that truly removing every barrier between their hearts meant uncovering Lucian's hidden past and understanding the roots of his hardships. Early Monday morning, Elena invited Lucian to the small apartment he rented near campus for a warm tea. The modest but tidy flat featured minimalist decor, a few bookshelves filled with applied mathematics volumes, and several black and white photos of his childhood. On the small wooden table, Elena had set out an Earl Grey teapot and 2 cream-colored porcelain cups. Lucian stood staring at the old photographs, one of him and his mother on the porch of their cottage, another of him in high school uniform proudly holding a certificate. He drew in a long breath, his eyes glistening. Elena gently sat down and poured him tea. "Have a sip," she said warmly, without hurry. Lucian lifted the cup, sipped, then set it down. He looked away, his voice tight. "I rarely speak of my past." Elena took his hand, her eyes full of understanding. "I know life in Oregon wasn't easy. You once told me your mother worked 3 jobs, and you worked as a laborer while studying?" Lucian fell silent, his gaze distant. "Those days. I didn't want anyone's pity." She tapped his hand lightly. "I don't pity you, I admire you. I want to understand you fully, to share and dissolve the ice in your heart." Lucian's chest tightened, but he felt her sincerity deeply. That afternoon, Elena brought Lucian to the university library where she had researched months ago. She located his old diary, stored in the mathematics department archives. The worn leather-bound journal's yellowed pages recorded Lucian's dreams as a poor student, scholarships, lectures in grand halls. She placed her hand on the cover and tapped 3 times. "Professor, I found it." Lucian stepped back, confusion flickering in his eyes. "How did you get this?" Elena replied, "I asked the department for permission to borrow it for research. I want you to know I sought it out in respect, to untangle every question in your heart." He approached, voice trembling. "But..." Elena opened the diary and read softly, "September 12th, I received a full scholarship, yet darkness still weighs on my heart. My mother called and said she was proud, but I only want to bury my hardships." She looked up, her eyes shining. "Don't be ashamed. A person's heart is shaped by past trials and effort. I believe those very experiences make you deep and compassionate. Lucian closed his eyes, a single tear falling. He took Elena's hand. Thank you for letting me open my heart. That evening they sat on the apartment balcony, gazing at distant lights. Lucian shared childhood memories, nights his mother sewed until dawn, delivering newspapers at 4 a.m, wages barely enough for a bowl of rice. Elena listened, occasionally asking questions and offering comfort. The breeze drifted by, and she leaned on his shoulder. I admire your perseverance and strength. Lucian squeezed her hand. With you, I have found a true pillar of support. The new term began, and Elena introduced Lucian to her research team. Together they discussed a smart traffic app project. All barriers between them seemed to melt away. Lucian laughed and shared knowledge freely, not just out of duty but because of Elena's presence. She was overjoyed to see him open up beyond work. At the chapter's end, on a night when the season's first snow drifted softly past the window, Lucian surprised Elena with an unexpected gift, a new black leather journal in which he had written his current reflections. December 15th. You helped me break down barriers so I could love and be understood. He gave a shy smile. You are the next page in my journal. Elena was moved to tears and embraced him, the rustle of snowfall outside sounding like a blessing for their love. Spring began to lightly dust the stone pathways around Stanford, cherry blossoms opening in bright pink beneath the warm golden sun. While students eagerly snapped photos under the flowering trees, Lucian Blackwood and Elena Kensington prepared for a pivotal moment, publicly announcing the teacher-student relationship they had carefully nurtured all semester. At dawn, Lucian summoned Elena to the department office. In the center of the room stood the large bulletin board where he usually posted his teaching schedule and event flyers. He waited before the board, his gaze thoughtful. Elena entered, holding a small blue folder. It contained Lucian's family records and the dean's written confirmation that their relationship was approved, provided they followed departmental regulations. She gripped the folder, her eyes determined. Are you ready? She asked. Lucian replied, I spent many nights thinking about this. Now it's time to let everyone know about us. He handed her the folder, and together they pinned a new bulletin titled Stanford Faculty and Students Relationship Update. In large handwritten letters they wrote, Lucian Blackwood and Elena Kensington, officially dating. Standing side by side behind the poster, their hands met, hearts pounding with both nervousness and joy. Within minutes, the first students entered the office. A murmur rose as they read the announcement. A few exclaimed, Professor Blackwood and Elena? I can't believe they dared to go public. Elena offered a gentle smile and a bow. Hello, everyone. Lucian spoke up, Ms. Kensington, and I wanted to share this happy news with you. Our relationship has departmental approval. Applause echoed down the hallway, and some students began live streaming the moment, launching the hashtag Stanford Love Story. News spread across campus at lightning speed. By midday, the Stanford Daily ran a front-page article titled Young Professor and Student Find Happiness Together, accompanied by the photo of Lucian and Elena linking arms before their poster. The story emphasized their professionalism, adherence to policy, and the genuine love that transcended taboo. Opinions were divided, some offered enthusiastic support, others raised ethical concerns. Lucian and Elena read the comments together and calmly responded to questions, deftly defending their decision. That afternoon, the dean summoned them to his office. Elena squeezed Lucian's hand, her gaze full of trust. The dean smiled, I have reviewed the report and feedback from the department. I support your decision, as long as you maintain balance between your personal and professional lives. Lucian bowed his head in thanks. Elena added, Thank you for your confidence. We will prove that our love does not affect teaching or learning. From that day on, every morning Lucian greeted Elena's coffee deliveries with a smile as she passed him across the quad. Senior lab students often saw them engaged in spirited discussions, sometimes serious, sometimes teasing, but always affectionate. Their love became a driving force. Elena was invited to serve as his teaching assistant, and Lucian discovered a renewed passion for his work fueled by their bond. The following week, Elena accompanied Lucian to visit his mother in Oregon. The warm reunion took place in his old wooden family home, steeped in memories of his childhood. His mother embraced Elena with tears. "Thank you for bringing happiness to my Lucian." Lucian, moved, took Elena's hand and replied, "I'm happy to have her by my side." Laughter filled the room, banishing the cold winter wind. After the trip, they returned to Stanford to messages of congratulations from friends and colleagues. Beneath the cherry blossoms, Lucian presented Elena with a small silver ring engraved Stanford 2025 as a symbol of their shared journey. Elena's voice trembled. "I will wear this forever, to remember today." Lucian clasped her finger, "And so will I." The end-of-term celebration was held in the department garden. Hand in hand, Lucian and Elena received cheers and applause from faculty and students. Among a canopy of flowers and twinkling lights, they danced slowly to an acoustic melody. A year of trials had passed. This public declaration of love marked the close of one chapter and the beginning of a sweet, enduring future together. May's bright sunshine gently shifted the rhythm of life at Stanford as graduation approached. Elena Kensington stood on the main commencement stage, draped in her pale blue bachelor's gown, her mortarboard tilted at a charming angle. Behind her, Lucian Blackwood, now associate professor of applied mathematics, adjusted his robes, pride shining in his eyes as he watched her advance. Applause thundered through the hall, and a breeze carried the scent of magnolias from the floral arrangements. When the MC announced her name, Elena stepped to the microphone, her heart racing yet her voice steady. She bowed and thanked her department, friends, and especially Professor Blackwood. "Thank you for being not only my academic guide but also my companion through every emotion. I will carry these lectures, experiences, and this sweet love into my future." Lucian offered a soft smile, his eyes sparkling with pride and happiness. The ceremony concluded with hats tossed into the air, Elena's mortarboard soaring amid a flurry of cherry petals like pink snow. She ran to Lucian, beaming, "I did it, Professor." He swept her into his arms amid cheers and confetti, his warm voice, "You overcame every challenge, you deserve all our faith." They stood in a rain of blossoms and sunlight, a tiny paradise at the end of their teacher-student love story. The next day, Elena hosted a farewell party in the courtyard outside the department. Tables draped in white linens were set with wisteria blooms and sweet wine. Friends, colleagues, and both families gathered to celebrate Elena's graduation and their steadfast relationship. Lucian's mother hugged her with tears. "You are officially part of our family now." Happy tears marked the bonds they had forged. That evening, once all the guests had gone, only the two of them remained by candlelight. Lucian drew a small box from his vest pocket, fingering it with playful nerves. "You once gave me a leather-bound journal. Now I want to give you a promise." He opened the box to reveal a silver ring set with a luminous pearl. Elena gasped, hand to her mouth, "Professor." Lucian knelt, voice trembling, "Elena Kensington, will you do me the honor of becoming my partner for life?" In that silent moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath, their hearts beating as one. Elena nodded, tears of joy streaming, "Yes." Applause and cheers erupted as Lucian rose and embraced her. They kissed among the candlelight and flowers, sealing a new beginning, not as teacher and student, but as future spouses, bound for life together. A month later, their intimate wedding took place beneath Stanford's cherry trees. Close friends, dear colleagues, and department leaders gathered. Elena wore a fitted white gown, Lucian a sleek black suit, and they exchanged vows under the pink blossoms. A quartet played Canon in D as they stepped to the altar, exchanged rings, and pledged their love with joyful smiles. Married life remained busy with paperwork, teaching, and research. Yet each morning Elena prepared a cappuccino for Lucian, placing it by his desk with a loving look. "Have a wonderful day, my husband." He responded with a radiant grin, "Thank you, my love." They lectured side by side, co-authored papers, and shared simple dinners in their small campus kitchen, where the engraved double mugs bearing their names sat proudly on the shelf. A year later, Elena successfully defended her master's thesis, and Lucian proudly saw her name in a prestigious academic journal. Hand in hand, they strolled through Stanford's gates at dawn, cherry blossoms and sunlight celebrating them, once student and teacher, now life partners, united by their pursuit of knowledge and enduring love. The story ends as they sit on a bench by Crescent Lake, the sunset turning the water rosy. Elena leans against Lucian's shoulder and whispers, "I'm grateful for every challenge that led me to you." Lucian holds her tightly, "And I'm grateful to you for bravely opening your heart." They smile together, gazing down the stone path into the heart of Stanford, where the sweetest memories of their true love endure.